Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. We are Silver Sister Speaks, and we've been talking about love is possible over 50, 40, 50, 60, and beyond. And today, our topic is red flags and deal breakers, and we're each going to talk about it. And my sisters today are Sheila Agnew McCoy in red and Tracy Byerly in, is that purple, in the majestic purple, and in the pink I'm Adelina Winfield, and we thank you for joining us. And
Mhm.
Sheila will get us started. Everybody's going to introduce themselves, and Sheila will get us started.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Sheila Agnew McCoy. I am passionate about teaching health and fitness and lifestyles to active adults that helps them to have a balanced life in what they do, what they eat, what they drink, and just their overall life balance. And I'm here today because I want to talk about what our topic is, which is red flags. What's our breaking point, right? But I know that sometimes we go too far, we stay too long, and we really have a hard time getting back. And as mature adults, people who are 40, 50, 60, and 70 and above, we deserve better. We deserve to have a life where people value us. But we have to get to a point where we stop allowing people to take advantage of us. And that's the part, I know we talk about finding love, but that is a part of finding love because you want to have someone that is equally valuable. I mean, that equally yoked to yourself, right? So you want to have that value and you don't want to bring old baggage into a new relationship. So you have to have yourself free of all those old things before you get into a new relationship so that it will be a healthy relationship. But with red flags, I'm gonna tell you, I had to go into because I'm not gonna say anything to you that I have not experienced myself, but I had to go into my skeleton closet and pull out a few skeletons. And what I found is that, and sometimes I'm a little bit older than some of you, also I had to go back a little farther, further. And so I picked out about four skeletons. And what I found out is that back to back to back to back they were the same type of people. And each person I had red flags with. And most of the time it was in the relationship that I had the red flag, but I chose to stay in the relationship. So it wasn't until I started looking at those type of things and I said, girl, and I'm telling you, they were not healthy relationships at all. They were relationships that had love, but they weren't healthy relationships. So sometimes you have to go beyond that perception of love and you have to look at, who you really are and what you deserve. And I got to the point where I said, this is not me. I don't deserve this. I deserve better. So I prayed to God to loose me from those type of relationships. And it wasn't just me praying, it was me getting involved from a spiritual perspective with my church and those type of things. And God, thank the Lord, released me from those type of relationships. And I feel like now I'm able to, which I am married now, but now I'm able to have a healthy relationship. And if there are issues, I'm able to work those things through. But I stopped getting the same pattern that I had. I had the same pattern. I don't know. Is that you? That may be some of you. It may not be. But this conversation, which it is a conversation, is to really bring light to some of the things that plague us as we get involved with relationship, and particularly as we get involved with more mature relationships. So, what is a red flag? A red flag in a relationship means stop, don't go any further. The flag is down, and the flag is down in football means what? It's a foul. And if you get too many fouls, you kicked out the game. If the flag is down when you're racing a car, that means it's danger. Don't go down that road. So it's the same thing with our emotions as we get involved in relationships. Those red flags mean don't do it, stop, It's not healthy. And it's going to be, the further you get into it, the harder it is to go back. And then once you decide to go back, it's going to be difficult getting out of those relationships because you're too emotionally involved with the things that you should have not gotten involved in the first place. But that's okay because we all get involved from an emotional perspective. But why? Because we love, we lust. Sometimes we have financial concerns. Sometimes it's just fear, but there is always a way out. The key is to look at the warning signs. And if the warning signs say, I don't know if I want to do that or not, then that is when you stop right there and get out because you don't want to get involved with things. You just, it's too much. It's too much. I read an article a couple of weeks ago. A lady wrote justifying why she stayed in a relationship for 35 years. It was her marriage, and her husband was a habitual cheater. And she met him in college. They had this beautiful romantic relationship, and early on in their marriage, he started cheating, and he kept on cheating and kept on cheating, and she was emotionally distraught for over 35, maybe even 40 years. And she said that things are better now because he decided to stop cheating. Well, we can all make our assumptions about that because that is an article. But I assume that she probably saw red flags in the beginning. But since she was so evolved emotionally with him, she decided not to get married, and they had kids. He was good with the kids. They went on family vacation, but he was a habitual cheater. And I think at 60, he may have stopped because it wasn't working down there long enough. I don't know. But, and I don't mean that for everyone, but I'm saying you don't just stop. You have to have some kind of spiritual and professional help to stop that kind of behavior after 35, 40 years. So I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't know that to be true, but I think about, and I read the comments, and people were like pretty much thinking like me. You spent all of your life being emotionally distraught over someone that never wanted to help himself, and he thought it was okay. So don't be that person. That I wouldn't want to be that person. Thank the Lord I was able to move forward with the red flags I had, but don't be that person. And that's how we're going to start off, and we're going to go into a few more things about red flags.
All right. I guess it's my go. Thank you, Sheila. That was really, really great. I like the way you did the football analogy, and what the red flag means. And,
Mhm.
we just say red flag, but it is a serious thing that we should pay attention to. And oh, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Adelina, Adelina Winfield. I'm Fly Granny BK on Instagram. I'm a positive aging influencer, and I inspire people to live vibrantly in every area of life, from dating, mature dating, to lifestyle, to health and beauty. So that's a little bit about me. But the getting back to the red flag, we we see them, and like Sheila, you went back in your closet, you saw them. I saw some of mine as well. And the thing about us is that we've evolved, and probably back then we just, we're so in need and wanting love that we just accepted it. And
Right.
then, the evolving point of it is you realize who you are, and you're like, I don't have to accept this anymore. And that's part of maturity, and just, you know um, learning about life and learning about yourself. So that was great. um, one of the red flags for me is communication. So, we are communicative, relational beings. And I know many of us have met guys who just are very quiet, very just don't open up at all. And I was married to somebody, believe it or not, for 16 years, who, when I met him, he was one way. And then after we got married, he just like shut down communication. It was like I reeled her in. Now I don't have to say anymore. And I spent all those years really wanting more communication, more back and forth. And I really didn't get it. That's one of the reasons why our relationship dissolved. Um, and I would be the one trying to pull communication out of him, and he would just shut down, and it's so frustrating. A lot of men are like that, but this one was to an extreme, and it wasn't working, because we as women, we like to express ourselves. We need people to express themselves back to me, at least a little bit, so we know what you're thinking, so we know what you're feeling. So
Mhm.
that is really important. If your partner consistently like avoids talking about important issues, then you're stuck. You're the one that has to handle everything. You're the one that has to deal with it. And there,
Mhm.
it's like abandoning you, right? So if you see those traits while you're dating, watch those red flags, see if it happens all the time. Um, uh, Yeah, and then it's also based on their personality, right? So like if they're outgoing, okay, you'll get more, but if they're not, then you're going to get that type of person that doesn't like to share. And we really want someone to share our lives with. Um, the other red flag is emotional unavailability.
True.
So I was I'm going back in my years now, very early on. I was dating a guy who I would see whenever he was ready to see me, and that could be a couple of weeks at a time, or, whenever he thought he wanted to see me. And it just didn't feel like I was in a real, maybe I wasn't and thought I was, but it didn't feel like I was in a real relationship. And he just was not available physically and or emotionally, because I saw him so infrequently that we would just go out, hang out, have a date, come back, and then he was gone. So that's a red flag. I know a couple of women who've maintained long time relationships with that kind of thing. And possibly he's married, or possibly, he's seeing a lot of other women. Um,
Mhm.
so when you see those things, when you can't get close to them emotionally or otherwise, that's a big red flag to me. You know, um, Again, we want somebody who's available and there and share your life with. Otherwise, why stay involved? And I know a lot of women who just tolerate it, and they're waiting, and it's painful. So the sooner you can not stay too long, the sooner
Right.
you get out, the better for you. And then I just want to add one more thing. I would the same guy that I was married to, he was like a ghost. Not only was he not emotionally available, you just, there was like no connection, right? He was like not available in general. He didn't um, just meet my needs, and I was doing everything. So all of those things are really important, and you just get tired of dealing with those things. And those are just two tips that I had.
Mhm.
And okay, back to you, Tracy.
I got you on cue. Hello, my name is Tracy Byerly. I help women and men to create a confident, prosperous attitude about aging so they can master it unapologetically. Whew. First of all, we don't want to forget the children. My story is going to be weaved all in what I'm fixing to share. Just know that I was that one that took those red flags and created a bouquet and went marching down the aisles with them.
Yeah.
Anybody know about ignoring those red flags? It would be your girl right here. But one of the most painful lessons that I learned was regarding my child. And I'm going to go ahead and tell the end story. She still loves me somewhat, She loves me. The relationship is still very strained, but she is healing and we are growing together. Spoiler alert, that's the end. Now, let me preface everything that I'm going to say before I say what I want to say. Are children manipulative, selfish? Absolutely. My husband has a saying that just makes me cringe, but he is so right. Are children's just visitors passing through? Absolutely. Are there parents that are so involved and so controlling in their kids' relationship that they are the red flags and the deal breakers? Absolutely. And for those of you who are very controlling and involved in your children's lives, a litmus test for you is if you are constantly getting complaints about it or if you're getting unsolicited advice more than once. Now, that's a whole other subject right there. But back to the child, the children. Listen, I don't care how old they are, listen to their concerns. I found out 20 something years later, my daughter had concerns about the man that I was going to marry, and she trusted a sister friend, went to the sister friend, and the sister friend told her, "You don't want to tell your mom that. You want her to be happy, don't you? If you are that adult, go apologize to the child who did that you did that to." Allow children to talk, encourage them to talk to the parent. Go to the parent if they can't. Parent, if your children are talking to you, listen. They may have some deep, deep concerns. It's time to take the rose colored glasses off. This is where you get to discern and get that check within you. If there's something going on in your heart, in your gut, your spirit, pay attention. If you don't know what to do with that, go to wise counsel. Very important. A red flag would be if your mate is forcing you to choose between you and your children.
Mm.
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
That is a huge red flag, and that should be a deal. When you're coming into a union, the two shall become one. It's not a hierarchy, a we thing, a me. It is a we thing, not a me thing, not a hierarchy. That is so important. You could be dealing with being isolated from your family members and dealing with someone who is very possessive and controlling. And your children feel when you put others before them. Should be a we thing. When it's a we thing, they don't feel that. But when it's a hierarchy and they don't feel important, guess what? There will be people, places, and things that will make them more of a priority. And that is not what you want. And you better hear me. I know what I'm talking about on that one. So the biggest thing is, and I'm so passionate, and I hope I don't cry because I'm telling you what I know. Are you listening? Are you listening to you? What's going on in your body as you're listening to your kids, as you're listening to loved ones who may be giving warning signs? Hey, something's not right. Are you listening to your partner? Because their responses or lack of is still a form of communication. This is where it becomes more about selfless dating because you're getting everybody, your body, your children, your loved ones, and that person involved instead of selfish. It's all about me and what I want. I'm going to be that one that is going to suck your rose colored glasses off like a bully. Here are your consequences if you don't make the right choices. When that toxic relationship blows up, you are stuck with those children who are beyond resentful, and traumatized, especially the children and the teens who were involuntarily dragged into this relationship and they had no say,
Mm, mm,
to the ones who grew up to be adults and they are tired of rescuing because of our poor choices, or completely, totally abandoned because they are tired. It is time to stop taking those red flags, and you know them when you feel them, and turning them into a bouquet. And there is a way that we can do this and come out okay.
Mhm.
First of all, we all agree if you need therapy, get you some therapy.
Right.
There's something that is called a 10-10-10 list that was introduced to me by a motivational speaker. And that 10-10-10 list saved my life, guided me to my soulmate. Of course, after I got some therapy too. But the first 10 is 10 things that are very important in your mate, maybe one or two things you might compromise on. 10 things that are very important, excuse me, just important. Three or four things you might compromise on. Then there's the do not tolerate, and that is any violations, you cut it. That's what I want to focus on for this brief moment. Why do we need to focus on the do not tolerate? Because we spend a whole lot of time with our wants. My mate's got to have this, drive that, own this, blah, 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 blah. And when we get them, we put up with a whole lot of stuff to keep that what we want. No standards set in place where we draw the lines. Consider this 10-10-10 your heart pact. You're going to write it out and be very detailed about each one of your points. They're your standards, not to enforce on anyone. It's for your information and for you to observe. And there are some rules that will make you successful with this 10-10-10 list. You don't share it, because if you share it with the wrong person, they may be a pleaser and morph into something that is not them anyway, or you're going to have a faker who's going to do whatever they can to get you at any cost. Y'all have heard about that 90-day rule, by the way. Give them 90 days. Usually it's the 91st and beyond where people start showing their true colors. Mark my words on that. Really listen and discern. I know I can't tell y'all what to do because y'all are grown and adults, but if you can keep the sexual stuff out of it as long as you can, do so, because you know that sex stuff clouds your whole thinking and logic at that point.
Mhm.
But ask the hard questions during this time. Listen for responses. Again, as I said before, check the response or lack of. Still a response. Remember to check in with yourself. And when you write this list, make sure that it is something that you match. Be careful asking someone to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. And if you're not going to do what you're expecting, question yourself and get to the root of why. 9 chances out of 10, you probably need some healing. Don't be the red flag or the deal breaker because you won't get some help. There we go, ladies.
Traci, that was amazing. Really, really,
Right.
really insightful.
Mhm.
I know you help a lot of people work their way through this. So that was really good. As you were talking, I was thinking about the warnings from the loved ones. Um, whether it's your children, like you mentioned, or for me, I've been married a couple of times. My first husband, everybody hated. Everybody that I loved did not like him, except for me, right? I'm the only, and I didn't listen to my mother. I didn't listen to my brother was going to give me away. He was like, I'm not giving you away in your wedding, and he didn't. Um, and just friends and people. And guess what? I saw the red flags. I knew he was like a little, crazy. And I just went
But
anyway.
you just loved him so much.
It wasn't even that, honestly. It was I was in love with the like thought of getting married, right?
Right.
I
Okay.
loved marriage more than I loved him,
Hmm.
like, by
Right.
any means necessary. And he
Hmm.
was horrible. He was horrible to me. He was horrible to everybody, and I just went along with it. Um, so there were red flags there that I should have heeded.
Hmm.
Not just my mother, everybody's warning. Um,
Right.
so that was really important. And then the second part of what you mentioned was listen to your body, because your body really does tell you
Hmm.
when something isn't right. And for so long, we just haven't listened to it, and I'm just probably 10 years into fully believing and listening to my body now, because of all those times that I didn't, and all those mistakes that I made.
Hmm.
And then you think like, oh no, maybe it's just me, and then you get into it anyway, and you're like, man, I knew, because we do
We
know.
do.
God
Right.
gives us that, right? Like the
Right.
intuition, the gut feeling, and all that. And so many times I just didn't pay attention to it, and I paid for it.
And here's the deal with that too. I love that you brought up don't forget the children, because often we don't really look at them as a component, and they are a large component of the choices that we make. And even in my situation, actually, the red flags were more not necessarily my marriage red flags, but they were red flags in long term relationships that I had. But you bring their children into it because you have a long term relationship, and you bring your children into it. And so all of those people are affected by the choices that we make, and whether we decided to stay or go or things of that sort. And I am a people person, so I get involved with the whole family. You know, I
Mhm.
know the mama likes me and the children. And so it is, and even with my own daughter, I never thought to look at how she would feel about relationships. And as an adult, she said, I didn't like nobody. She said I didn't like anyone, and then she started, especially so and so, and so,
And you
so
never knew.
right. I didn't know she didn't like that cold about it. Just I didn't like nobody. I didn't want nobody like my mother. And we're just really close like that now.
Right.
And so I believe that that would have an effect on her and some of her choices that she's made. But as and again, as them being adults, they have to move on too. So we have to, if we take therapy or whatever it takes for them to move on, they eventually, have to move on as well. But I think that that's a very important part that we don't think about. And going back to that lady with the letter, she talked about how this father was a good father to the children, but she suffered from that. And so it's just so many dynamics that we have to look at when we stay in situations. And I think one of the reasons why we decided to speak about this, love is possible, and hoping that we can reach people. Someone may be in that situation now. Someone may be having emotional effects from that situation, and someone may just need to know in case they get in that situation. So I think that it's an important thing to look at. And as we age, we want to have good, positive, healthy relationships. We don't want the drama. And I think that this is an important conversation for that.
It is. You know, we often choose based on where we are, not where we want to be. This is why getting healing and getting as healthy as you can so that you can manifest the right things. You
Mhm.
know, we're expecting the son of the king. But if we are wounded, low self esteem, like I was, and you see my hand up, when my hand goes up, it's me.
Mhm.
I attracted to me someone who felt like I was a project
Mhm.
and I should have listened when he's made comments like, I don't even know why I'm with you. Because if it was on paper, it all would not add up.
Oh my
But I
God.
just wanted to be loved. And I just want to show how much love I can give and I can change so I can be loved. Red flag to all of that. Red flag to yourself if you're listening to these things and you cannot step in and say, hold up, girl. Did you just really? He told you how he felt about you. Come on now. Now, did I stand in the mirror and even journal about it? Yeah, I did. I was far gone. I needed some help. I chose where I was. I'm saying to you, if this is you, get you some therapy, please. Get some help.
That's another really important point too. And we just allow ourselves to stay in these situations. Sometimes when you're in it, it's hard to see it.
Right.
So, hey, we're reaching out to younger folks because we were young and we were not wise. And we just want to share a little bit of this wisdom so that, you won't make the same mistakes. So, heed what we're all saying because we know we've all been there.
Right.
Yep.
And you have to how do you leave? How do you remove yourself from those situations? And the one thing about it is you have to prepare. You can't,
Yes.
and you do have to prepare, and you have to pull yourself together mentally and physically, and you have to prepare so when you walk, you don't go back.
That
And
part.
if you're not mentally there, if you're still hung up on the emotion, you'll go back. And for me, I could say that the last time I was in one of those type of relationships, the guy called me one day and he said, "Are we still together?" I just walked out and never looked back. Never to this day, never look back. And so I think that we have to put ourselves in that position, whether it's being therapy and spiritual advice and all of that, where
Yes.
where we're healed. We just don't leave. We're healed. So we want to be healed from those type of relationships, from going back to the same thing over and over again.
And also, if you find that you see signs, you really almost don't even have to give a total explanation unless demanded for. But I think a one-liner that works, you know what? I'm just not the woman for you.
Yeah, I'm gone.
I'm just not the woman for you. And
Mhm.
leave it at that and run, Forrest. Run as far as you can. Run.
Because I always say if it's a maze, even a maze has one little hole out. If that's what you find, get in that little hole and dig yourself out.
Get out.
It's worth it. It's worth it. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
is. It is.
there
And
is hope.
you have to know yourself and begin to not accept that anymore and really don't be a victim and also just realize your worth that you don't have to stay. There's more love coming.
Really is.
Some women do that out of desperation. And for the mature women, we're talking to everybody, but for mature women, we don't have time to waste. So the better you know yourself, the better you're able to see the red flags quickly and get out quickly. And online, you say we're not a match. So we are just not a match and keep it moving.
And have
Well,
wise counsel. That is so important.
mhm.
Not friends that are going through what you're going through and worse, and they're not where you want to be. Wise counsel. That is so important so that you can run that person through them. They're your filter. That doesn't make you immature. If you're having issues, you got friends and family who love you enough that they can say, oh, yeah, or you might want to dig a little deeper into that one.
Yeah. And don't take advice from people who you already know don't have good relationships either, you know. And but watch out who you look at online, because everybody that sound good may not be good for you. So I think that I think we've done good with laying it out there on the table. And we
Yes,
welcome any comments or suggestions or any feedback that you have.
yes, yes. Well, any last thoughts, ladies?
Well, I
Um,
just want to thank everyone for joining us. If you have anything you think we might want to discuss, and again, get mentally and physically ready for, and it's not just love; it's just for yourself. And the things, as we talked about before, your light will shine, and things will gravitate toward you.
yeah, basically, I think we covered it all. We just want everybody to live vibrantly, you know, in any phase, and just enjoy life as you go along.
Mhm.
And I am posting up our social media handles. Take a screenshot, whatever you do. If you have anybody that may be fit any of these categories that we are talking about, please have them watch this. Reach out to us. We will communicate with you. And you all are our community, and we love you so much. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, smooches.
Thank you.
Take care, y'all. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.